Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mirish, Julianne, and Ronan. An absolute privilege to be standing here. For those that don't know me, I came from London, the Piccadilly line to Laois, Portarlington, and a bike. And I continue my journey like that. I am in no way an expert of any sort. I have done my 10,000 hours of parenting, a lot of it in the twilight zone, for which I think I should get brownie points, and same for everyone in the audience. I have 4 children, and I'm still winging motherhood on a daily basis. But I will lay claim to the fact that I am now a really good delouser, a really, really good one, okay? So if that is my area of expertise to be, I will happily take that. It was a Thursday evening, and all of these things always happen in the evening. And I've learned over the years that when that phone call comes of, it's just a quick consult, it's not going to take a minute, all my radar needs to go up. So the door opened, and in she came, and she had a piece of paper. And she said, it won't take long, just sign it here. It's my driving license renewal. And I knew things weren't going to be right when she kind of missed the chair to sit on. And I tried really hard with every facet of the exam to say, let's see if we can sign this piece of paper. Lots of enthusiasm, lots of, shall we try this again? And it just didn't work. And it wasn't even a case that I could actually use our backup, the independent assessment service. This was barn door, clear cut, couldn't sign the form. But the problem now is, how do I tell her? This was a quick consult, sign on the form, and now I have to tell her, Mrs. Piccadilly line, for who transport was so easy, to a lady who's utterly dependent on transport for every existence, be it mass, the hairdressers, getting to the shopping, or even visiting family, that she couldn't drive anymore. So it was kind of your classic drawing back to all those years when I dumped all those men. It's not you, it's me. You know, let's talk about this, or maybe not. And drawing in that, actually, that this was a good thing. It was a good thing that she didn't have to drive. It was a good thing that now, you know, she could avail and save on the insurance and the road tax, et cetera, and I found myself in this circle of wibbling, you know, non-specific, not happy wibbling, like I had done with all those years of dumping men. But she just looked at me and raised an eyebrow and said, thank you. Didn't say much, got off the chair and left. I didn't think much of it until a few weeks later. I was round at my late mother-in-law's house, and Mommy was a great woman for a cigarette and a glass of wine. And several glasses of wine later, she turned around and said to me, oh, by the way, the bridge club say you're the license thief. And I, excuse me, Mom? And she said, oh yeah, you know, there's a rumor going round, you rob licenses. And I said, me? You sure it's me? To which then my mother-in-law, with another drag of her cigarette, said, how many brown doctors are there in Portarlington? So I have patient experiences, and then I come back to my lack of expertise, because I get it really wrong when it comes to my own health. And a few years ago, we were out on holiday, and it was the holiday of holidays, because it was going to incorporate the honeymoon and Carnival and Brazil. And what I thought was just partying and an industrial hangover was actually signs that I was falling unwell. And it was all really explainable. The headache, well, actually, the only clear fluids drunk were vodka and sambuca. The vague nausea, well, I was hoping it wasn't what I thought it could be, but possibly the dodgy prawns on the beach. The abdominal pain, the back pain, oh yeah, too much salsa, too much merengue. And with that, climbed back on a plane to come home, and was absolutely the passenger from hell, because all I did was vomit really loudly and ask everybody around me for their sick bag. So much so, people started moving. So much so, the air stewardess came up to me and said, "Do you need a doctor?" So much so, in my embarrassment, I couldn't even admit that I was one. So we landed back, and I thought it would probably be a really good idea to tee in with a GP. So got home, and instead of doing the right thing, and instead of calling my GP, my fabulous GP, I phoned a friend. Like you do. The friend that you know that will turn up for you. And they did, and they came round, and I said, look, all I need is a bit of IM Stemitol. I'll take some Diorolite, I'll knock back some paracetamol, and I'll be fine for work tomorrow. The friend took one look at me and said, no, I don't think so. I think you need a little bit more than that, and encouraged my husband to take me into the local A&E. So we'd gone in, he had thrown a few things in a bag, and I was admitted to a ward, a general ward, an orthopedic ward. And as I was getting settled, I looked around to find that I was the only person there without a broken bone. So massive imposter syndrome. Sitting on a ward, no broken bone, the lady in front of me said, hip to your right arm, to our back, neck, and over there, we don't quite know what she's at, but mind your biscuits. So I was on that ward, and the only thing that came into my mind was, I need to let my colleagues know I'm not going to be at work tomorrow. Madness. You're sitting there in hospital, and your actual priority is to let your colleagues know. So went rooting for the mobile phone in the bag to realize that there's no phone, but there are 3 tangerines, 2 bags of Tato, and a silk negligee. All really, really practical. So, and then I don't really remember much. And I woke up a few days later, and I'm in an ICU. And there are lines hanging out of me, and there are machines beeping. And there's a flowchart next to my bed with those daily trends and a really interesting upward renal profile trend that was going up and no signs of coming down. So I asked one of the nurses on the ward, and I said, what happened? How, what, why, where? This was only meant to be a hangover, really. And she said, well, you know you got admitted. And I said, no, I remember that bit. Do you remember you were on a ward? No, I remember that bit. You remember you were on an orthopedic ward? And I said, yeah, no, I do remember that bit. Well, they said, you remember the lady opposite you? And I said, I do, hip. And she said, yeah, that lady, she noticed for a young one, you didn't pee. You didn't get up to pee. They were all calling everybody to help them pee, and you were the only one. And she said, that's not right. So she then alerted the nurses, and that process then ended up with me being admitted to ICU. So wherever she is, I'm very grateful to the fact that she noted that I didn't pee, because if you think about it, on a daily basis as doctors, there are lots of times when we don't pee. But I came out of hospital, and it took a bit of time before numbers re-attenuated and I could get back to work in full fettle. And it has stopped, and it's made me think that much as though I look out for patients, much as though I try and break news gently, I get it really wrong. That real Specsavers should have gone to Specsavers ad when it comes to my own health. I've now got a GP. I don't look at my friends. And I've also learned that it takes a hell of a lot to spook a renal physician. Thank you.
Bye.